Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. Want to bring a quick update. You know, with the markets getting crazy, I decided to take 2 days off, and gotta say it was a nice 2 days away from the screens, away from this craziness. Didn't want to do a whole lot of trading anyway. Got back to it late last night, started checking out the charts, seen where we had a pretty nice reversal there at the lows, and I want to talk about that here, give you my thoughts around where I think we could go next, and some things, and specifically some levels to keep an eye on here on Bitcoin. But I also want to point out some of the alts. The alts have had a very nice run today, several names well into the double digits, and we are seeing potentially bottoms in some of the names that have just been so oversold and so beat up to the downside. And there is a couple of reasons I'm thinking this might continue here on some of these alts. But first, let's take a look at Bitcoin. So here is the daily chart to take a kind of a big picture view of this big reversal that we've had. And you can see here, although it didn't finish green, this last daily bar with the long wick here is very bullish. Highest volume we saw here with a big wick at the low end, and that's a nice hammer candle, especially considering how far stretched we were from the shorter term 10 EMA. Even at the lows, we were down 17%, and we had seen 4 days, technically 5 red days in a row. And so it was due for a bounce. I think we're finally going to see one green day at least, maybe two, and we do need to test some of these support levels that broke down, which are now resistance. And so I think we're going to see some more upside testing. We're already seeing some of that. We'll see how far more it bounces. We're definitely not out of the woods yet, in my opinion. There needs more time and some more constructive action on the daily chart, but we were certainly due for a bounce. We're seeing that big reversal here. So if we zoom in at the shorter term time frames, a couple of levels that I was watching here near the lows. First off, this big double top is still in play, and until we clear some of this resistance, and it's not unusual to see that being tested when it breaks down, but right now the big wall is right where we're at now, around 9,300 up till around 9,500 or so. And so that was the double support, the neckline, if you will, of this double top that gave way, and we continued the selling yesterday. We found support near term here around that 83, 8,400 range, which was a prior area of support. Not a huge area, but certainly a little bit of a base that had formed here in the recent past. The next big base is right here, right around that 8,000 level, that 7,900 to 8,000 level. So if we do see another leg down, that's going to be the area we want to see, and to see if it holds there. But zooming in a little bit, so we're seeing here, this is the 4-hour chart. We saw the big test of that support twice yesterday. Now we're rallying. We hit a little bit of a wall into that 10 EMA, which happened to be this little bit of a resistance zone right around that 93, 9,400. Finally saw a little bit of a pullback. We're starting to rally again, but I'd like to see a lot more buy volume come in here. You're seeing it starting to taper off here. Now, to be fair, this latest bar here is a brand new 4-hour candle, which is not even an hour old on this chart. So volume there doesn't really mean a whole lot, but the last two have been lighter and lighter volume, so we want to see some bigger volume come in. If you zoom in on the hourlies, same picture there. Would be better if this buy volume on the upside is getting stronger, and it's not. So we got to see if we can break through with some decent volume above that 9,400 level, which is a little bit of a resistance zone right now. But the good news is, in the near term, it's trying to turn the trend here a little bit. It's making some higher lows, but like I said, it's not really out of the clear yet. I think we can continue to see some more upside testing, some bouncing, but we're right at this resistance downtrend line, as well as a horizontal point around 9,400. If we can clear that 9,500 area, the next level up is approaching that 10K area. And if you go back to the daily chart, 10K is right around where that declining 10 EMA is on the daily chart. So perhaps we bounce into that, and then we see another leg down to test this low that was put in, and if not, then we'll see how it goes from there. Potentially another leg down further, but that's going to be the way we want to watch it play out. We got to see some confirmation to the upside, some more volume, and potentially another test to this downside. It doesn't have to go as low as it did yesterday, but we want to see some confirmation that that was the low. So taking a look at the coin market cap, we've seen a lot of green today finally after a pretty rough week, but a couple of things that I want to point out. Ethereum stronger than Bitcoin today. Litecoin very strong today versus BTC. Some other names are also having a very nice rally off the lows. Some of the bigger winners today: Nano up 33% in the last 24 hours, Omisego up 20%, and so you're seeing some very nice bounces off of these extreme lows, off of the selling. So a lot of these alts are outperforming Bitcoin on the way up. And you know, I have an interesting scenario that I've been thinking through. So there is the Mt. Gox whale who holds quite a bit of Bitcoin, and if we've learned recently over the last couple of days, he has been selling Bitcoin through most of 18, with a large amount of Bitcoin being sold near the lows here in February, and it totaled almost 40,000 Bitcoin, $400 million worth of Bitcoin. But the big story is they still control 160,000 Bitcoin, almost $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. And if they continue to dump that in the open market, that is going to just create huge headwinds for Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, because they hold both of those. And if that continues to play out that way, unless they start taking a different strategy where they do some over-the-counter trading desks, or they use the dark pools where the big buyers can step in privately and make those transactions, if the open market sales continue, that's just going to be a huge headwind. And this kind of overhanging supply that people are worried about Bitcoin being dumped on, and it may create a scenario where more capital moves into some of these other bigger names such as Ethereum and Litecoin, because you wouldn't have that same supply situation, fear, whatever we want to call it, that's kind of threatening the prices in the open market. So it would be interesting to see if we continue to see that trend change where some of these names begin playing catch up and outperforming BTC. Let's take a look at some of those charts. And so here is ETH on BTC on the Coinbase exchange, GDAX basically, and you can see here it's putting a very nice bottoming formation here in the last couple of days. This is the 4-hour chart, but look at all that volume really starting to come in here in the recent days, and it's starting to turn the corner. If we zoom out and look at that daily chart, this has had quite the pullback here versus BTC, and here in the last couple of days, just a lot of volume coming in. And if you look at the RSI on this, this pretty good double bottom here on this chart. But what I want to point out is you have that low here with the lower low versus BTC, but the RSI is showing a bullish divergence, meaning when the price went down lower here, RSI didn't hit a new low on that point. And so we're starting to see that showing that momentum to the downside potentially is waning, especially with volume coming in. That's a good sign. And certainly the near-term picture, if you look at the shorter-term time frames, you're seeing some good outperformance on Ethereum versus BTC. Litecoin having a similar story. Litecoin is really charging ahead here off of the lows versus BTC. Got a little extended near term, so it'd be nice to see a little bit of a pause or a pullback. But also on the daily chart, not quite as big of a pullback versus Bitcoin as it had on what we saw on Ethereum. But you're also seeing some recent action here in the last couple of days where you're starting to see these outperform. Now, the USD charts certainly have taken a hit, just as most of these names have, but they've really bounced back much stronger and a lot sooner than Bitcoin has here in the last day. So you can see this big, strong reversal, high volume candle on that daily chart on Litecoin. And so if we can see this start actually turning the corner, clearing some of this resistance right now, because at this point, that's all it is. It's just been a bounce off of some oversold conditions, and we're needing to clear this resistance and some of this overhead. Getting back into that $200 range would certainly start to confirm this move. But that's something I'm going to be watching. Some of these other alts are showing that kind of bounce action off the lows versus Bitcoin. And so perhaps they've turned the corner. I was expecting Bitcoin dominance to rise a little bit more, but with this whole supply and potential Bitcoin being sold off here near term, that changes the pictures fundamentally. and may prevent some BTC dominance to continue to increase. So that's what I'm going to be watching over these next couple of days. Like I said, those are the levels to be watching on Bitcoin. We're not in the clear just yet, but it's good to see at least a little bit of a near-term low being put in around that 8,400 mark. Now we just got to see if these next upside resistance levels can be taken out. Again, at this point, it's just a bounce. We're bouncing right into that neckline resistance. And if it continues lower off of this double top, the first level to look at first, the retest of that 83, and then around 8,000, give or take there. So that's what I'm going to be watching going into the weekend. I will schedule a live stream for later this weekend, probably tomorrow early, but if not, it will certainly happen this weekend. So thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time, take care.